Hello, I'm Stewart Rome. I'm an actor who's just come back to the profession 4 years ago now, and I'm represented by Mary Liz Management.
Ian.
Hello, I'm Ian Laing, a Scottish actor, voice artist, contacting later in life, focusing primarily on screen roles.
Thank you. John.
Hello, my name is John Micheal Foulger, and I'm also represented by Mary Liz Management. I've been an actor for over 3 decades. I do television, screen, and commercials, hoping one day to get into radio work.
And
Catherine.
Hello, my name's Catherine Adams. I'm a professional actress and voice artist, and also do a bit of script writing and editing. I've got about 20 years experience, and everything you need to know about me with regards to my career is on my website, catherineadams.org. And this will be a completely cold read for me because I haven't had a chance to look at the script yet.
And I'm Angela Elliott. I'm a scriptwriter. I've got about 35 years experience, starting first of all in documentaries and moving into drama and film and anything that will pay me, basically. So we are going to be reading Manorbourne by Dan McCurry. So the year is 1920. Exterior Kentish Town Street Day. A street of London townhouses in the morning with horse-drawn milk cart making its deliveries. Interior Manorbourne's bedroom, Mrs. Foster's house. Day, a sparsely furnished room with faded wallpaper. Manorbourne, 28, a former aristocrat, is sat up in bed in his pajamas with a cup of tea, having just woken up. Smithers, 28, a working-class intellectual, lays out police constable uniform on the wooden chair.
I've polished the buttons, sir, and ironed your shirt.
Terribly good of you, Smithers. I did learn how to do that in the trenches, you know.
Met Police Manual Section 7.6. The highest standard, sir.
Of course. Carry on, Smithers.
Also, Mrs. Foster has sausages and eggs. It's Tuesday.
Ah, Tuesday again. Sausages. The joys of being ordinary.
Manorbourne gulps down the rest of his tea, then hops out of bed and stands to attention. Smithers hops to his side with military precision. They start to do star jump exercises.
1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3.
Interior kitchen, Mrs. Foster's house. Day, Manorbourne and Smithers sit at the kitchen table in their constable uniforms, while landlady Mrs. Foster, 50, serves fry-ups to them.
You surpass yourself, Mrs. Foster.
I always say young men need to be well fed, and I will do my bit. The doorbell rings. Smithers goes to answer it. Manorbourne's plate has 3 sausages and Smithers only has 2. He cuts one of his sausages in half and puts it onto Smithers' plate. Exterior, Mrs. Foster's house. Day, Smithers opens the door to find a police motorcyclist. Constable Manorbourne?
Smithers. Manorbourne's inside.
Manorbourne has to report to Scotland Yard direct. No messing about. Commissioner Macready wants him pronto.
We're on our way.
Interior, exterior, racing car, London Street Day. Smithers and Manorbourne are in full constable uniforms, racing through the streets of London. Smithers drives while Manorbourne has a napkin hanging from his collar and tries to eat his sausage as the car screams around the corner.
Sir?
Yes, Smithers.
We suffer a loss of speed on each corner due to Newton's law of action. If I were to apply the handbrake at an opportune moment, I believe the rear of the vehicle will swing towards our ongoing trajectory, greatly reducing our loss of momentum.
Carry on, Smithers.
Exterior, London Street Day. The racing car screeches around the corner in a handbrake skid and roars away at high speed. Interior, racing car, London Street Day. Manorbourne struggles to aim the sausage into his mouth as the racing car tears around the corner. Exterior, Scotland Yard Day. Establishment of shot of police headquarters. Interior, Commissioner's Office Day. Sir Basil Macready, 60, a one-armed former colonel of the India campaigns. The tiger that took his arm off is mounted on the wall behind the desk. Manorbourne sits before him.
Damn it, Manorbourne. Pay attention. Not social visit.
Of course, sir. Sorry, sir.
Buckingham Palace. Criminal matter. Sensitive. Discretion. All clear?
Yes, sir. The nature of the offence, sir.
Do I look like King's Inquiry?
No, sir.
Ask him. Sir Reginald Mountford. Report direct. Prompt to high rank, Inspector. Sorry, promoted to high rank, Inspector. Out of the uniform, Maybourne.
Yes, sir.
Manorbourne.
Thank you. May I ask why I was chosen?
Not me. Personal request. King's Equerry. Report back. My desk.
Exterior Buckingham Palace Day. The Sunbeam six-cylinder racing car screeches to a stop. Interior Office of Sir Reginald Buckingham Palace Day. Sir Reginald stands as his secretary brings in Manorbourne and Smithers.
Inspector Manorbourne and his assistant, Sir Reginald. Come in, Inspector. Take a seat. Be a good man and wait outside, would you?
I'd rather prefer that Smithers remains, Sir Reginald. I find his assistance invaluable.
Yes, I quite see. But this is rather delicate.
I polish his buttons and take notes, sir.
Yes, of course. We all have our role. But, you see, Manorbourne, this concerns His Majesty the King. Your man can wait outside.
I do understand your concerns, Sir Reginald. I would explain that I'm totally reliant on Smithers.
Oh, you see, it's a delicate matter. We require a person of noble birth, which is why you were selected.
My position at birth is not my position today.
I'm fully briefed, Manorbourne. There was no wrongdoing on your part, so you have nothing to fear there.
I'm not a member of the nobility. In regards to Smithers, we are equal and expect to be treated as such.
It's about etiquette, you see. No noble education and manner would assist. I'm happy for you to have an assistant, but the briefing, I'd prefer your man to remain outside the room.
Sir Reginald, I manned a trench alongside a baker, a shopkeeper, an illegitimate boy raised in a brothel whose only formal education was that provided by myself and other officers in the trenches. We did our duty and held our position. Am I clear?
Take a seat over there, Smithers. There's a good chap. Before we continue, I'd like to express my utmost sympathy for the loss of your father. It goes without saying that His Majesty would never be allowed to express such a sentiment in public.
Thank you, Sir Reginald. And the matter at hand?
His Majesty was gifted a box Brownie camera, which developed into something of a private hobby. He enjoys composing portraits of Her Majesty Queen Mary and kept the photographic prints in a private collection. It is a very private collection. One of those photographs appears to have gone missing. This event occurred while His Majesty was hosting a diplomatic function. It is a matter of national security that the photograph is recovered.
I see. And where was the photograph removed from?
His Majesty has a dark room in his private apartment.
A member of staff.
The integrity of His Majesty's staff is not in question.
Love of the monarch can manifest its misguided moment.
The photograph in question portrays Queen Mary in an unflattering position.
Unflattering.
Yes, it was a private moment.
But His Majesty chose to develop the negative film into photographic paper, yet there's a question of quality.
Yes, it's quite delicate, really. Her Majesty was, shall we say, in full horticultural delight.
I'm afraid I don't quite follow.
The horticulture in question, Inspector, the photograph was of a bush.
A bush?
Belonging to Her Majesty.
Well, I'm afraid I'm rather lost.
I think, sir, I can assist.
Smithers, how dare you? This is the Queen.
Manorbourne looks to Sir Reginald. Sir Reginald raises his eyebrows. It slowly sinks into Manorbourne. He looks to Smithers and back to Sir Reginald. On Manorbourne's face, the surprise and shock eventually manifests in stern expression and a lecture.
Sir Reginald, I'll have you know that Queen Mary is the very epitome of moral good standing. This country and the entire civilized world look to our monarch as a paragon of self-restraint and virtue.
Yes, I quite understand your reaction.
Are you suggesting the Queen?
Publication could result in a loss of moral authority across the empire. It is imperative that the photograph is recovered.
Do any copies of this photograph exist?
One negative of which we have taken a single print for documentary purposes. The rest of the collection was gathered and destroyed.
We need to know exactly what we are searching for.
Sir Reginald opens his desk drawer and removes a brown envelope, passes it across. Smithers draws near to observe as Manorbourne pulls out the printed photograph.
Bloody hell.
Manorbourne averts his eyes and returns the photograph to the envelope.
Yes, I think you'll find, Sir Reginald, that the content in question does indeed show Her Majesty in full horticultural delight.
Interior, a grand office, Buckingham Palace day. Footman 1 sits bolt upright, answering questions, staring straight ahead.
Yes, sir, the service went well, sir. The schedule went well. The guests were well served, sir. Did anything unusual happen? No, sir, it was like clockwork. Return to your duties. Thank you, sir. It does occur to me, Smithers, that each interviewee appears to be following the same line.
If I may, sir, they call it off-stage and on-stage. When they speak to a gentleman, they act like a servant. To a working-class person, they act natural.
Smithers, is there any reason I should not consider that remark impertinent?
Yes, sir. I mean, no, sir.
I suppose you would do better. They would be off-stage, at ease with you.
No, sir.
You would engage them in a gentle banter, using the language of the working class, and they would open up like a ripening flower.
That never occurred to me, sir.
A knock at the door, Smithers opens it. A royal butler enters with a telephone on a silver tray.
Telephone call for Inspector Manorbourne.
Thank you. Acting Inspector Manorbourne speaking?
Speak to Count Bladier.
Who is this?
Count Bladier, Romanian.
Click, the call ends. Manorbourne hangs up. The royal butler leaves with the telephone.
Very unusual. A male voice recommending I speak to a guest at the function. Romanian ambassador, Count Bladier.
Yes, sir.
Smithers, I will gather statements from the diplomatic guests. I want you to engage the servants in the language of the working class.
Yes, sir.
I think we've reached page 10, so let's
Okay.
stop there and go back to the beginning and thoughts on this. Catherine, what are your thoughts on this?
I was rather enjoying it. I will say there's one or two only a few typos in there, so a quick once over for a proofread would be advised before you send it off to anybody. I loved the language used. The characters were quite well defined. I did find it a bit confusing, the relationship between I've forgotten the two main characters. It seemed like they were Jeeves and Wooster, but I presume they were on the same level as each other. So I was a bit confused of the hierarchy between those two. And I wasn't quite sure of which genre it was supposed to be, whether it was supposed to be a comedy or drama. It could easily be either, I think, depending on how it's directed and performed. But I find it interesting. I quite liked it. Perhaps because we had the first 7 pages omitted, that might be a little bit more informative as to the relationship between the two main characters and also perhaps the genre, but I don't know because we don't have the first 7 pages. So I can only denote from what I've got. But I liked it. I think it came across as a more of a serial thing. It came across more episodic to me. But I liked it, and I'd like to hear what happens next. It was quite funny, definitely a funny part with the bush and the photographs and witty lines used there. But I don't know if that was for the whole piece, or if that was just a comedy moment in a drama. So other than that, I thought it was pretty cool.
Thank you. John.
Yes, just to parrot what Catherine was saying, I really enjoyed it. It could be either or both, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd like to know what happens next, obviously. A couple of little things that niggled me. You didn't, when you mentioned racing car, London streets, you don't need to do interior and exterior simply by saying the car, we know where you are. Like Catherine says, when the odd typo turns up, it tends to jump out. So go proofread again. But yes, really did enjoy it. Characters seem well rounded. Definitely a bit Sherlock Holmes and Watson going on there. But yeah, enjoyed it. Would definitely like to know what else is going on.
Oh, thank you. Ian.
Yeah, I go along with those comments. I liked it. A bit Jeeves and Wooster, maybe. Peter Whimsy, that kind of sort of aristocratic approach to sleuthing, if you like. I think that's what's coming. Episodic. I agree with Catherine. It sort of comes over as a series that could develop these characters. I like the relationship with the two main characters. I thought there was something that could be developed there. And so there's a reference to some sort of fall from grace, a family history, which will probably come out in the future and perhaps over longer or more episodes. So I thought that was good. I think I'd be one pair of concern is maybe to avoid too many or falling into stereotypes, with the sort of Sir Basil, Sir Reginald, maybe too obvious characters. But other than that, yeah, I liked it. I'd like to hear more and see how these guys could work together.
That may just have been my off the cuff performance, to be fair. So
no, but I'd written that down actually. I read it a little bit earlier, Catherine, and the two of them jumped out at me.
Stewart.
Ditto, really. But I thought it was, nicely set up. Clearly set the time and where it was, which we always pick writers up on at the beginning. So that was really clear, which was helpful. I similarly had echoes of Holmes and Watson, and also I had the image of Tintin in my head. It's sort of like daring adventures going on, and in a racing car eating sausages, which was quite funny and smart. And it was like, oh, where's this going? And
it could well be an animation, actually.
Well, it could well be.
Yeah,
I thought it was
if it
funny
is, then we've got Danger Mouse and Penfold.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. I thought it was funny in places, which was nice light touch of the comedy. It was intriguing, and I wanted to. All these characters started appearing, and mentioning like Count Bladier and the royal butlers and the royal family and all. It was like, oh my god! So this is what did come out of all that though was this is probably going to be very expensive to film. And I would imagine, and it's sort of like a classic Sunday night kind of costume drama thriller, comedy sort of placeholder really. So yeah, it's just kind of if it can be funded and filmed and shot beautifully with period costume and cars and things, that sounds great. There's one tiny little thing that I spotted. Where you talk about the racing car earlier, and then a bit later on you say about the Sunbeam racing car is outside, and it was referring, I think, to the same car. And you hadn't described it as a Sunbeam racing car earlier on. I thought just put it earlier on that it's a Sunbeam racing car. Then you won't need to, I was kind of going, oh, is that the same car or is that the different car? So if it's the same car, then describe it first where it first appears. But that was the only tiny thing I spotted. But yeah, overall, very enjoyable.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Yes, that was something that I'd made a note of. That the Sunbeam gets mentioned, but earlier it's just a racing car. And also I didn't think that was very clear. Is it a car? Is it a racing car? Or is it a car that's racing? So
That's what I was thinking,
So
actually.
it wasn't until you then get to the Sunbeam 6-cylinder racing car that I'm thinking, okay, so you need to have named it earlier. And in actual fact, the devil is in the details. So I'm going to be picky here.
You've looked up Sunbeam racing car, haven't you,
At the
Wendy?
start, well, it's not just that. Rolling back, going backwards for a moment. We've got the motorcycle, the motorcyclist knocking on the door. We clearly see the police motorcycle outside. Where's the car? We're in Kentish Town.
Yeah, it's quite small around there.
Streets, it's all close little terrace streets.
Yeah.
We need to see the car. But on page 1, which I'm not sure is whether this is page 1 or page 7 or whatever page it is, you've got exterior Kentish Town Street, a street of London townhouses in the morning with a horse-drawn milk cart making its delivery. And there should be the car parked at the curb. So we get it right straight away, and it's incongruous, and it makes us go, oh, hang on, that's a bit weird. You know, why is this car here? And that sets us up then for that bedroom scene. I thought it's something that you picked up on, Catherine, I think, is the relationship between the two. Was Smithers supposed to have been his Batman during the war, perhaps? Which would make sense insofar as maybe Manorbourne is a captain or something, and Smithers is just a lowly little, sprog, as it were, in the trenches, and he's his Batman. If that's the case, it makes sense. And just to clarify that, maybe we need a little bit of something between them, a conversation between them, a little bit of dialogue, just to indicate, not your Batman anymore, sir. But he's still doing the job,
Unless he was his butler when they went to war together.
Or he was his butler,
maybe.
Because that bit of dialogue doesn't quite fit, doesn't allow you to work out that relationship.
He definitely defers to him all the time.
Definitely, exactly. But I think we just need a little bit of clarity, because we can't read minds, and you can't sometimes tell.
There was hierarchy sometimes, and sometimes he was actually asking the butler to do everything. He was more trusting of his opinion than his own.
So it just
it's that isolation of the upper echelon of society, should we say. They don't have this understanding of what Joe Ordinary is like.
The only other point, the other thing is punctuation helps a great deal, especially in the dialogue. So there were a few places where you could have done with a comma just to clarify, just to make it easier, I think. But that's a minor point. But I'm thinking back to the car again. I realise all of these are technical issues, really, more than anything. We've seen the motorcycle. We've established that we need that car parked outside on the street. We now see them in the car racing. Where's the motorcycle gone? Is it up ahead? Do we see it in the wing mirror? Could we just have a shot of the I'm just thinking the motorcycle, we need clarity about, does he accompany them? Is he just come to deliver a message? It's just a kind of, I don't know, you don't even need much just to see it zooming past them or something. That's it, really. I'm not going to pick holes any further. I think other than that, it rolls out quite nicely, and it would be good to know what happens next in the whole thing and where is it going. I agree also. Is this a drama? Is this a light comedy drama? Is it, I have to assume it's like comedy drama, because, otherwise their relationship is very weird. And the conversation and the setup with the,
to be honest, that the whole race car thing really threw me, because, as I say, it was a cold read. I hadn't read it before, and why is there a race car in it? I thought, is that like saying
that
something?
is the other thing. Why is it a racing car?
Yeah, it was like
and
I think
extremely incongruous on a street in 1920 in London.
I thought it might be an old make of car or something, but
Yeah.
Well, it kind of struck me that the car, or the type of car, Sunbeam 6, maybe that's just a fallback to when he was aristocracy and he had money. So he doesn't think about it consciously in that way. But it should definitely be mentioned that it's in Kentish Town outside, because it would stand out like a thumb.
yeah,
Something like that.
But it would be, because, you know, any colour you want as long as it's black, basically.
No, racing green.
No, I'm saying
Oh, yes,
other
sorry.
cars. Any
Yes.
colour you like as long as it's black. Plus a lot of horses still and cars.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of pedestrians.
Mm.
And it's going to be really hard. I pick up on Stewart's point. Really hard and expensive to shoot a racing scene through a London street that still looks like 1920.
yeah,
Definitely.
it's studio only, really.
I mean, you're going to have to
Yeah.
maybe shoot it somewhere else.
Possibly
Well,
animated.
yeah, you're definitely going to have to shoot it somewhere else.
Unless it is an animation, because then it's, you know,
Unless,
you
exactly.
can do anything you like.
Yeah.
That's true. That's also true. But of course, with CGI and AI these days, you can
Exactly.
do things. Okay, then that's it. Great. Thank you so much for that.
Well done.
Useful.